All right, guys, welcome to the Hunter's Quest podcast. This is your host, Hunter McWaters. It's great to be with you. And today I'm joined by someone I'd say is a true killer, Travis NOWOTNY. How you doing, man?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, thanks for coming on. You've been on several podcasts, and I've heard you before, and I was aware of Goat Knives and stuff like that, and we have some mutual friends and whatnot. Um, but it was this year when I was kind of following your season on social media, and man, you just had an incredible season. And I was like, man, I'd like to talk to Travis. So thanks for your time, man.
You bet. Yeah. Thanks for having me again. So,
Yeah. And we were just talking before. You are Idaho native, correct?
yeah, that's right. Born and raised.
Cool, man. Well, yeah, just to start things off, man, just for myself as well as everyone listening, give me a little bit of just background on yourself, and I might jump in and ask for a little more detail here and there, but um, just how you got started and what led you to what you're doing now and what you are doing now.
So yeah, I got into hunting at a young age. It's one of those things. It's always been hunting has always been a strong, um, I don't know, influence in my life. My dad kind of got me into the outdoors and hunting and stuff like that. He hunted, although he's not like a huge hunter himself. He's kind of the one that got me my start. But um, yeah, I just grew up with a burning desire to get out there and hunt things and you know worked hard and strive to learn so I could be successful and anyway, that's kind of where I got my start in the hunting industry, I'd say. Um,
How old were
I'm
you when
just
you
an
started going
electrician.
out?
I'm an
Kind
electrical
of
contractor here in the Treasure Valley.
real quick, I
And
was
I
just to
also
ask, how old do you think you were when you started going out kind of on your own and doing kind of bigger adventures and stuff?
well, as soon as we lived in Susanville, California for a little bit when I was like in
Okay.
second grade. My dad had traveled there for work. He was in the mining industry, and anyway, a mining job took us to Salmon, Idaho.
Mm.
Although I was born in Idaho, we did live in California for a little bit. But as soon as we went to Salmon, we had a little bit of property. We had 3 acres and open fields and BLM behind my house. So at that time, I was free to run loose with a stick bow and all the cottontails and stuff like that. In my neighborhood, we're in trouble, but yeah, and yeah, I would say, second grade, third grade, something like that. So is where hunting really was influential in my life. I'm gonna try to turn the volume up here. So
Okay.
can't. There we go.
And you were started, I guess. I mean, I can't remember if I got my first bow and arrow first or if I got like a BB gun first. I can't remember, but I feel like I was more drawn to the BB gun. But I don't know. I know now you're archery only. Are you like dedicated to archery only?
Archery is definitely my passion, but I mean,
Yeah,
I'm an opportunist, I mean,
for
if
sure.
uh if I can run up to the hills and go chase wolves with my rifle, I'm all about it. So
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, the wolf hunting thing. You don't really want to be going after wolves with a bow. I mean, it's already hard enough. Um,
yeah, I've been on some muzzleloader hunts and things like that, and I really enjoyed them. So I just love hunting, and I love the challenge that uh, it can be. And bow hunting for sure is definitely my passion. So it's what I live for sure. So
yeah, there's nothing quite like so. Just for your information, so I grew up bow hunting as well. The county I grew up, but I'm from the East Coast, so the county I grew up, you could only hunt with a shotgun or a bow. You couldn't hunt with a rifle, and so I really gravitated towards bow hunting. Um, and there's nothing quite like being that close to an animal and just that feeling of taking one with a bow. Now, since then, about 4 years ago is when I started getting into Western hunting, and it's funny, I haven't sat in a tree stand. This is the second year in a row I haven't sat in a tree stand, but that was the first time since I was 14 I hadn't hunted whitetails. Um, but I haven't really branched into I feel like the learning curve was already so high and going these out of state hunts and trying to figure out new species and new style of hunting and new terrain that all my Western stuff to this point has been rifle. But there's nothing quite like that feeling of being that close to the animal.
No, definitely not.
Um, so yeah, man. And you said what you're an electrician now, is that correct?
Yeah. Yep.
So walk me through, and I know you're also kind of an entrepreneur. So walk me through that kind of journey there.
Well, I started Goat Knives a few years back, and it was really just an idea that I had to combine basically a knife with a multi-tool, and it was one of those things I just had to see it through, you know. Being a backpack hunter, being lightweight and, trying to kill two birds with one stone, that's always something that, you're striving to do is
Mm-hmm.
just better your system. And that's kind of where Goat Knives came about. So this came with an idea. And as I started it, I figured, well, if I'm going through the motion, I might as well design some other knives and come up with, a few more products for us to offer.
Yeah. So what was the first design? The first goat knife.
So it was the Capper Hunter. It's basically a replacement blade knife with basically an Allen wrench set that you can basically, tighten your bow sights or something like that in the field. Basically, it's all cut from titanium. It's got in handle bit storage, some O-rings that you kind of push through a quarter-inch drive hole to activate it, and basically just I would always pack Allen wrenches, and I hated
Mm-hmm.
packing this little bulky set of Allen wrenches. And it's like I just had this idea. I'm like, man, there's only like two or three Allen keys that I really need. Like,
Right.
if I could just pack just those, it would just save me that much weight. So that's kind of why I came up with it. But
Okay. So I know a little bit about it because I've kind of looked into it, but I know that a lot of people have ideas for products, but the actual the reality of taking a product from a good idea, which might be a good idea, to actually having a product on the market is tough, and it takes persistence and a lot of work. Walk me through that process. Like, what was that like for you specifically? How'd you do it? How long did it take? What were kind of the steps you had to go through from getting an idea to where you actually have a product to sell?
it really just came through like figuring out how that I could even make it, and where I could source the materials and things like that. And a lot of Google searches and watching stuff and
Yeah.
making phone calls and a lot of dead end phone calls, calling people and they're like, we don't do that kind of thing. You crazy, But after a lot of persistence, I was able to make it happen and come up with my first, prototype. So initially, like I had like a laser, he was going to cut it out, and that guy, just ended up being a lot of talk and couldn't do what he said he was going to do and things like that. So there's a lot of learning on my end too, but it took about a year, I'd say, turn around to get it finalized. Working a full-time job as an electrician, it was just, kind of as I had time, I'd run over here and talk to these guys over here at the machine shop and stuff. And it was just I really didn't have anybody to lean on or anything like that. I just kind of figured it out. So,
Yeah.
but it definitely didn't happen overnight. And I mean, even still, like, when I develop new products and stuff like that, the turnaround on it is just, I mean, it's 6 months to a year, from an idea to getting a prototype to, production's even more. They really got to work out all the kinks and stuff like that. But
Did you deal with like doing patents and all that stuff, or did you kind of skip that?
I just skipped it. I'd talked to people about it that had patents and stuff before, and patents have expiration dates, and your patent has to be accepted. And you got to sit down with a lawyer and
Mm-hmm.
go over all this stuff. And it just seemed like if I was to patent something, and then the next guy came along and wanted to just change the process in which it was done,
Yeah.
then the $10,000 I spent and all this patents and what I mean would have been wasted. So
Yeah.
I don't know. It's one of those things. It's like that's what I chose to do off of the information I got. I don't know right or wrong
Yeah.
but
That's kind. I mean, honestly, that's kind of what I came to in a lot of my research was it's I mean, for certain products and certain things, I think it is needed. But I think, especially for like, an entrepreneur, I think it's something that holds a lot of people back from starting. When you'd be better off just like putting your product out there and not spending an extra year or whatever it takes or thousands of dollars to get the patent.
Yeah, no, I agree. So unless you
Um,
got some idea that I think that once you launch it, you're just going to be raking in tons and tons of, and it'd be worth it, then, by all means, protect
yeah.
yourself.
Yeah. So, do you go through like when you have like new products or even with the original, like do you go through a lot of testing and R&D, or do you kind of just know what you want and kind of put together and kind of go with it?
Yeah, I kind of just get a prototype, and everything that we've put out has been just designed by me and hand sketched, and then I go and sit down at the machine shop and we go put it into a CAD drawing and work out all the kinks, and then normally I just make a handful of them, give them to my buddies and me, and we can just use it and
Yeah.
try to break it kind of thing, and that's not 100% foolproof either. It's one of those things. I had a two-piece knife, and man, I tried to break that thing. I couldn't break it. And then, I've had guys get a hold of me and they're like, hey, I broke the knife blade, and end up sending them a new one or whatever. But, just different batches of, um, in the heat process, makes one blade brittle over the other.
Sure.
It's one of those things that wasn't till over time I learned that. I'm like, oh, I got to back this down a little bit on the hardness. And it was like the batches kind of, had different heat, and
Mm-hmm.
thank goodness the I don't know, I can't think of the dang name, but they'd kept track of all the batches and what temperature and stuff they had heated the blades to, so I was able to
Okay.
kind of figure that out, so.
Gotcha. Well, that's cool. It sounds like, I mean, I feel like a lot of people, maybe I'm talking to myself here, but you can tend to overcomplicate it and then maybe not do anything. But it sounds like you kind of just had the idea and just kind of went for it and stayed persistent and made it happen. How's it going?
It's good. Yeah, it's growing. It's been a little stagnant lately just because I went from working for somebody as an electrician to going out on my own. So that's kind of
Nice.
taken a lot of my time and energy and focus is just, the changeover, but
Yeah.
it's been good. So hopefully this year we can just continue to grow and, produce lots of knives. So.
Do you think is it your goal to get it to somewhere where it's like your main thing, or do you think it's always going to be kind of a side hustle, or?
I'd say my initial goal was to get it, kind of a retirement plan kind of thing, build it up and continue to run it and get it to a point where I don't really have to do much and then,
Yeah.
possibly sell it or, get enough income off of it that, that can kind of subsidize your retirement at some point.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, it's nice to have an actual product. Like the business I'm in, my product is content. It's not like a thing. But I've been thinking more and more like about you just gotta have different revenue streams, and having something to sell is it can be powerful.
Yeah.
So, well, that's cool, man. I wish you success in that, and so walk me through a little bit about your season, because I know you had. I was looking just a second ago on Instagram. You had an insane season. Is this like one of your best seasons in a while, or is it always like you always killing this many animals?
Um, I'd say, I mean, but yeah, I don't know. It's normally typically like this. I had a few
Okay.
more elk tags than normal, but it's not uncommon for me to shoot, $3 and a couple bulls and an antelope and a bear and with my bow. So
Yeah, walk me through. I mean, you can get as specific as you want. Obviously, some people are comfortable saying states. Some people don't even like to say states. But so, however you want to do that. But just walk me through like what tags you had, what hunts you had. What your plan was, what your season was like.
my plan typically going into each year is to, I try to get an early season deer tag. And, being an Idaho resident, I'm pretty fortunate, that I can just go pick up an over the counter tag. So
Mm-hmm.
I usually base my season off that. Like I know I'm going to be able to hunt, uh, mule deer and antelope and elk just in my home state. Like that's a given. And then I usually try to that in, like a lot of the deer seasons and stuff here, they don't open until, August 30th, where, like Nevada, August 10th, or Utah, it's like the second Saturday of August or something like that. So I usually try to get one of those, tags. The Utah tag can be pretty easy to get, Nevada, depending on where you're applying it, you can pick a tag up every few years. So Oregon, same thing, just I'm just always scheming to get tags, just so I like to start my first mule deer hunt in August. That's just something I always like to do. So I can start out with a nice backpack hunt, in the mountains, and
Mm-hmm.
then I'll flow into like my Idaho season where, when I'm done with that, then I'll start hunting mule deer here in Idaho, and then go to elk. But this year I was actually fortunate enough to, over the years, I've developed a lot of points, across a bunch of states, had a dozen points in most states. And I actually picked up three elk tags, a Nevada bull tag, a
Mm.
Utah bull tag, and an Arizona bull tag. All of which were archery hunts that were basically undesired seasons. You know what I mean? Like my Nevada hunt was uh, August 17th through like September 1st, so you're
Mm.
really missing the rut. And then um, Arizona, it was mid-November, so it was a late season hunt,
Yeah.
harder to bulls. And then Utah was after that. But so that really
Did
filled
you have
my
to burn quite a bit of points still to get those tags?
yeah, they were all about a dozen points. So
Wow.
um I mean, like the Utah tag that I drew, there was only one non-resident tag
Wow.
available, and I drew that tag. I'm assuming I was the guy with the most points that put in for that late archery hunt. Those hunts are tough, and people are scared to burn a bunch of points on them, which I don't blame them. It's a tough hunt. I didn't even kill a bull in Utah, so that was the my last hunt of the year, and um, it stings a little bit. So,
So you got your Nevada Bowl, Arizona Bowl, and then one in your home state, I'm assuming.
yep, yep.
So what was all right, so just what animals did you shoot this year? Like list them off for me.
I shot a Coues deer in Arizona in January.
Okay.
I guess I don't need the name of states. And then I killed uh, my first bull in Nevada, and then I killed an Idaho mule deer, and then I went and killed an Idaho bull, and then I went to Alaska and I killed an Alaskan moose,
Oh, nice.
and I went to Arizona and killed. Actually, no. Then I went to Oregon and I killed a blacktail. First time I'd ever
Nice.
had a blacktail. Then I went to Arizona and I killed that Arizona bull. Um, What else am I missing? Oh, I killed an Idaho whitetail as well back in September. So just I killed eight big game animals with my bow out of nine tags. So
Dude, you almost got a deer slam in 1 year.
I know.
I was thinking about that last night because so I hunted Oregon this year for my first time and shot a blacktail, and that was the last one I needed for like a North American deer slam or whatever. Um, but I was thinking that'd be pretty cool to do that as a goal, like do a deer slam in 1 year.
Yeah. Oh, it's definitely doable.
It is doable for sure. That's awesome, man. So, what did you think about Oregon? I loved it, man. This blacktail is awesome.
It was a fun hunt. Like it was nothing that I'd ever done before, but um, it's something I'm gonna probably go do again for sure. So, I shot the first decent buck that I had an opportunity on, and I saw some better bucks. So I'd really like to. I mean, that's my goal too. I want to get a deer slam, but I want to get a deer slam with like exceptional animals,
Yeah.
and have them all mounted together in just one corner. And this is like my deer slam. That's
Hmm.
attainable for a poor guy like me. So
Yeah, I was thinking too, like, so my blacktail was the biggest buck I've ever shot of any species. I haven't got it scored yet, but it was about 140 buck.
that's great.
Yeah, he was crazy, but so now, but he was my last one. But now, like, and I've never been like one to care about scores, but when you get one that's actually like a book type animal, you kind of start thinking it's cool. So I was like, it would be an amazing goal to be able to do the whole slam of Boone and Crockett, like, or at least just like really nice animals, you
Yeah.
know.
Oh, yeah.
So that's probably my life goal.
Definitely attainable. So
Yeah. Are you more of a deer guy or elk guy, or you just share the love?
it's funny. I get the rap for a mule deer guy because I've had, super success on a lot of great bucks over the years, but I just love hunting everything. Like
Yeah.
I like it all. I don't, every season is unique and every species is unique. And I love to just chase the season. That's why I like to start in August and just go clear through and just to
Yeah.
be able to experience a little bit of everything. I get to experience early season, I get to experience the rut. So I just love bow hunting and the challenge that I face doing it. So,
What was your favorite hunt from this year?
Hmm, I'd probably say, probably my Nevada elk hunt, that first
Okay.
hunt, just because um, I saw such big bulls and so many of them. Like
Yeah.
compared, I've hunted a lifetime here in Idaho, and just every now and then you'll see a great bull. You see a lot of solid good bulls, but those next level ones are just pretty amazing to see. On a regular basis. So
Yeah. Well, that one's interesting to me too because that's an out of state hunt, which basically all my hunts are out of state hunts. So, um, why don't you just walk me through that hunt, like everything from you found out you drew the tag. What's your process of e-scouting, getting boots on the ground, doing the hunt, pulling it off? Like, walk me through the whole thing.
So as soon as I found out the tag, that I got the tag, I was scrambling to figure out what the heck I'd even drawn. I'm like, what did I even put in for? Like, I didn't even really know. So um, once I did that, it was just pretty much straight to, like go hunt insider and hunting fool and stuff like that. Just reading as much stuff as I could about the units and talking to buddies that, know a lot about those states. Like Robert Hanneman. I gave him a phone call from Hunting Fool, and he kind of filled me in on what he knew about it and things like that. And then it pretty much was, straight to Google Earth, just finding everything in the unit that I thought, looked elky to me,
Yeah.
and a lot of it was, I basically had two units that I could hunt from. And from the people that I'd talked to, one of the units like was really hammered by the outfitters and stuff like that. And it was like this certain mountain. There was an outfitter camp up there, and it seemed like all the best places that looked elky were just like there was outfitter camps and stuff like that. So I'm like, I don't even want to go to that unit, even
Mm-hmm.
though everyone told me they're like the other unit's crap. Don't spend any time in that. Well, I went down there after basically pinning everything and coming up with a game plan. I went down there with my dirt bike, and just would go for the weekend and just rip as many roads as I could and just scouting. And over the course of checking both units, I determined that the unit that um, had the less hype, which was the crappier unit, like it was a lot better in my opinion. There was a
Hmm.
lot bigger bulls. Uh, the one canyon that I was hunting, I mean, there was 100 bulls in this canyon. Like over, I'd sit up on this high knob and I could glass, I don't know, 6 miles of country, and every day, I mean, there's just a ridiculous amount of bulls living in there. So it
Mm.
was, but just went from Google Earth and gathering as much information as I could to boots on the ground. And, I scouted probably 3 or 4 weekends, 2 to 3
How far
days.
is it from your house?
It's like 4 hours. So it's
Oh, that's
not
not bad.
maybe five
Yeah.
hours. So it's not bad. And we just learned as much as I could, and then just rolled into the hunt. So
Do you like to
and
show up a few days before the hunt, or do you already scout it enough where you didn't really need to?
I showed up well, actually, no, I was hunting, and I basically went the day before it started. So just
Yeah.
got in camp, but typically I would, like I always like to go at least a full day early. So I can get up, hike in somewhere, set my camp, and then, basically rest up for that evening. And then the next day have a full day, to put boots on the ground and try to turn something up before opening day. That's usually what I always try to do. So in any state, whether I've
Mm-hmm.
been there and scouted or not, a lot of these places that I've hunted, I've never stepped foot in. I just go in with a game plan from Google Earth and things like that, and just go from backup plan to backup plan. But for the most part, it seems like for whatever reason, I'm able to hit the nail on the head the first go around every dang time. It seems like so. I've been pretty fortunate in that regard.
Yeah. So back to your Nevada hunt. So you show up a day early, right?
Yep. Yep.
Walk me through it.
Oh, well, it was show up a day early, which was enough to set up camp,
Uh-huh.
and was about it. I did get out that evening, um, and located a couple bulls, and yeah, then I had to actually film that hunt. So cameraman came in that night, and
Oh,
we met.
nice.
What was that?
Oh, I said nice. I didn't know you that you did that.
Yes, that hunt's filmed. I'm actually gonna we submitted to the full draw film tour and stuff like
Sweet.
that. So we'll see if it gets accepted. If not, then I'll probably just release it to. I'm gonna start a YouTube channel just for the heck of it, just to
Oh,
put
cool.
places like this. So um, yeah, and then it was just hunting hard every day, and I think we hunted for 5 days with zero opportunity. The way that it was set up is like we'd see elk every day, and basically they're on this giant face, like set up. It's like 6 miles of country, so it's like you'd sit up there and you'd see all these bulls come out. Well, then they're out in the openings, and then they'd go basically into the timber and bed up, and then they were gone. Well, I when I scouted, like I pretty much scoured all that stuff, so I knew like where the high springs and stuff were on that mountain, and basically like for example, the first day, like the biggest bull I wanted to kill, like he popped out that morning like 500 yards from that water source. So and then he went to the timber and bedded, and I'm like, he's going to come to that water like tonight for sure, like
Mm-hmm.
he's within 500 yards of it. And he didn't. And
Of
it was just
course.
a game of cat and mouse the whole time, just trying to figure out where these bulls would come out for the evening, because we'd see them in the morning and they'd bed up before. I mean, you couldn't make a play on them. You'd see them and you'd have like 45 minutes to go across this giant canyon and possibly make a play on the elk with the winds changing and stuff like that. So it never was really even an option in the morning. It didn't seem
Yeah.
like. But after on the sixth day, I saw bachelor herd of bulls drop into the canyon below, like right out of sight. And when they did that, I seen them coming across the hill this way. On my side, uh, there's just a good area for them to feed, and there's a low saddle in there. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, if they come up on this hillside, they have to go through that saddle. So I looked at my cameraman. I'm like, let's go. So we hopped on the bike, went all the way around, had to make about a 2 mile loop to park the bikes, and then we had to go on foot from there. And it was just trucking as fast as we could to get there. And right when we get to where we could see that saddle, we looked down in the canyon below, and there the elk were stringing up through the aspens, going right to that saddle, exactly like I thought they
Wow.
were going to do. And anyway, it was just a matter of we hauled butt, and the herd had kind of split up. Like all the smaller bulls were in the front, and that big bull, he stayed back in the aspens, and he's just tearing the aspens up down there. Just, you know, it's before rut. He's just down there, just raking his antlers and having a good
Yeah.
time. We get there right as the smaller bulls were coming through the saddle. And anyway, I'd kind of slipping over the hill, and they kind of got nervous a little bit. I think they heard us, because I thought they were continuing to go through the saddle, so it was just creeping up. Well, they were feeding just over the hill. I mean, they were 30 yards away.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of just trotted up through the saddle, and I'm like, the big bull's got to be in the back, like in the timber still, like he's not there. And sure enough, that bull steps out and just starts coming up, and he looks up the canyon at those other bulls, like, what's going on? And I ranged that bull, and he was 67 yards away, and came to full draw and smoked him. But
Nice, man.
up to that point, like we'd never even really had a sliver of an opportunity, just being persistent and waiting for the right time. It was the funny thing is we had allotted 7 days for that first hunt with the cameraman, you know. I mean, when
Hmm.
you get a cameraman and you're paying him and stuff like that, you can't you kind of got to draw the line somewhere. So
Yep.
happy that we were able to string it together. So
Yeah, that's awesome, man. So I know obviously this was pre-rut, but when you're hunting in the rut, are you are you a caller or are you more just straight up spot and stalk kind of guy?
I'm spot and stock for the most part. So I mean, I
Yeah.
definitely I've called in bulls knowing the situation and their, behavior and stuff like that, knowing, oh, maybe I'll pull this thing out of my backpack because this is going to work right now, and I've had success that way. But just spot and stock is definitely my game. So I kind of hunt the more open country on purpose just because I don't want to wait for the elk to bugle before I even have an opportunity at them. I
Right.
like to just see elk in their normal state and just make a game plan and make it happen. So.
Yeah, man. So I drew my goal this last year was to kill my first elk, and somehow I drew like a high demand New Mexico muzzleloader tag, and it was insane, man. Especially for like a first elk hunt. Like I filmed an elk hunt before, but this is the first time I was hunting, and it was wild. Like there was just bulls everywhere, and like you said, like next level bulls too. At least for me
Yeah.
anyway. And hunting that like kind of like scrub brush deserty kind of stuff for the first like 4 days, so you could see them.
Yeah.
Almost all of them you could see them. It's so cool hunting them in that kind of deserty environment.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's my favorite for sure.
What was it like that too? Was it like sagebrush where you were at, or like high desert kind of stuff?
Yeah, it was just, yeah, exactly. High desert with aspen patches and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Seemed like they really gravitated towards like this super thick quake and aspen hillside, where it was hot, so they could slip in the timber and be cool all day. And there was a predominant creek down in the very bottom of the drainage. So in the evening, they'd come all the way down into that and then they'd work their way back up.
yeah.
So
So if you had to pick one hunt to do the rest of your life, you could only do that one. What are you picking?
no mule deer.
Mule deer? Like
Yep.
early season high country mule deer, rut mule deer?
Early season high country for sure.
Yeah.
Well,
It's so beautiful.
I love that hunt. I love I like the heat and stuff. The heat doesn't bother me, so I just like that early season. I just like the opportunity where you're able to see the buck you want. They're out in the open. You can get eyes on them and make a solid play. And the country that they live in is just phenomenal, and that's a lot of it. With the mule deer, they just the tip top of the mountain down to the sage flats. They live in all of it, and it's kind of cool that you can just pick and choose what terrain you want to hunt them in and
Yeah.
have opportunities at them. So,
Yeah. What do you think is the toughest archery hunt out there?
oh man, I'd say probably spot and stock coos deer with a bow.
Yep. That is anytime like I've done that hunt once, and I was with some pretty good hunters and we didn't kill anything. And anytime I see somebody like that's killed a coos deer with a bow, like on social media and stuff, it just kind of like I'm like, okay, they're pretty legit. Like that is not an easy feat.
No, it's not.
These things are so cagey, man. So you've been hunting them for a long time. Do you go down there every year, or
I have been. I think I've went. This is like the my fifth season or something like that. So,
how many have you gotten?
I've killed one every year except one
Wow,
year. So,
that's impressive, man. All right, so like I said, I grew up bow hunting, but due to starting to come out west, like I think 4 years ago, and like I said, just the learning curve of a new type of hunting and stuff like that, I've kind of been holding off on doing any archery hunts to this point. Not that I'm like afraid to do it or anything like that. It's just that coming from East Coast, you're investing quite a bit, and especially like when you're like creating content, like you said, hired cameraman and stuff. Like, you want to do anything you can to try to stack the odds in your favor. So, and I'm realistic in the fact that like I know where I'm at, and so I've been intentional about. Um, I started off with antelope, and then I kind of graduated up, and I've been trying to do hunts that are still tough because they're all public land, they're DIY hunts, but just been strategic about which hunts I do in what order to kind of gain confidence and skill level and stuff like that. So I don't know if I were to, what would your advice be to me as I am looking to, potentially move into start adding some archery hunts in there, um, like what types of hunts, even what species would you start off where, like, how would you what would your advice be to me or someone else who wants to kind of start incorporating some archery into their stuff?
Man, I'd say once you decide to go that route, just go all in. It's what bow hunting is a mental game, and if you have mental barriers before you even make the journey, you know what I mean? You're unsure that, you're not confident enough in your skills that you wouldn't punch the tag. Like, do whatever you can to prepare yourself to build confidence in the skills that you have, whether it's your shooting or your physical ability or maybe your map study and stuff like that. Just build whatever confidence you can and just lean on that. Like, that's one thing I do, I always spend a bunch of time shooting my bow early, right before the season. I'm not one of those guys that like, shoots my bow every day all year,
Yeah,
but, come, July, I'm shooting my bow every single day and I'm very confident with it come season. And I continue to
yeah,
shoot it throughout the season. Um, so I would say just build whatever confidence you can in the things that you can, and then do like you say, and look at those hunts that are going to stack your odds. So, maybe like an antelope hunt where you come out here and maybe you could, you know, uh, somehow come out here and get some boots on the ground and scout some water holes and read some sign and hang some trail cams and stuff like that, where you can find water holes that for sure antelope are hitting and things like that, and starting a blind, or a whitetail hunt near an alfalfa field where you're hunting them in between a transition zone, something like that, just to build your confidence. But um, one thing I've learned over the years is don't set barriers. Like I always hear it a lot where guys are like, it takes, the more shocks you can get in, the more success you're going to have. Which, yeah, I think is true. But like most of my entire season has been one and done. Like one stock, I kill the critter. Like
mm,
and it's been like that for the last few years, just because I take whatever means necessary to make sure that that one opportunity, I do everything right to get into bow range and make it happen. Like um, I feel like just putting all your energy into every hunt and every opportunity, and not cutting any corners, and not getting lazy about it, and not circling the mountain or whatever you got to do to make sure that you don't get picked up. I think just that really helps. So.
yeah. My dad always used to say that to me when I was a kid. He'd always be like, if it's worth doing, it's worth doing right. So it's like, you gotta, and like you said, I haven't done. I feel like a lot of guys I noticed when I was down in Arizona on that Coos deer hunt, like watching other guys go on stalk, sometimes just through glass, like from far away or whatever. It's so just mentally hard that like it's almost like some guys like subconsciously but purposefully like blow up stalks just so they can like
Yeah.
stop doing it. It's
Yeah.
like so much pressure and it's so hard to like walk that slow and that quiet for that long. Um,
Well,
but
that's exactly what I'm saying. I feel like a lot of guys just like, here's my chance. I gotta stalk it and make it happen really quick, Like most of my stocks, I mean, they might be all day on one stock, all day from sun up to sundown.
hmm,
Like it's happened a lot, Like
yep.
I've always told myself, if I can see the animal, if I don't lose sight of the animal, I can kill the animal every time. Like if you have the time, you know what I mean? You're not fighting time where you have to like push the situation to get in there so you can keep your eyes on it. Um, I just feel like your odds are really increased. So that's another reason that like I look at areas that really you know tip the odds in my favor as far as, the more wide open, the better. If I can keep my eyes on it, I can take the time that I need to move when it's looking away or whatever to get in tight. So,
Yeah. Yeah, that was one of the one of the earlier hunts I did was that Arizona hunt. And so I was filming for Brad Hunt actually, and he's like, and we were gonna go on a stalk. And in my mind, a stalk's like 45 minutes, an hour or something. And so
mhm.
I wasn't like mentally prepared. I didn't have like any water or extra jacket or anything. And yeah, we were stalking this coos deer for like at least 4 hours, 4 or 5 hours, and just super slow. And like that's where I got a sense of what it really takes. And also, and then something that Brian was saying to me later in that trip was like, and I think I've heard you talk about it before, is just like getting as close as you can and like not getting caught. Not that you have to like make it happen immediately once you get into bow range. It's like I need to get an arrow into him now. It's like getting in there, and I a lot of times equate it to almost like hockey or soccer. Sometimes the best move is just like move the puck to the other side of the rink. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
get it
Yeah.
down there. And then you can start to try to like get it in the but it's not going to go in the goal unless it's at least on that half of the
Yeah.
rink,
Well,
you know what I
that's what
mean?
I always say is right there. Get yourself in the game. Like, get yourself in a position safely to where you can keep eyes on that animal so that when you get your opportunity to make the final leg of the stock and capitalize when he messes up, like that's what I
Mhm.
always do. Like, I feel I'm not even hunting, like I'm completely wasting my time unless I'm in the game. Like, if you see a buck across the canyon, you don't just want to sit over here and wait all day, look and say, okay, I feel like that buck just bedded up right there. I can't make a play right now, but let's go get over there on that rock pile where I can see the buck and have my eyes on him. And I'm only 300 yards from him, rather than across this canyon, and
Mhm.
then we'll wait it out. That buck's gonna maybe get up and move his bed, or that buck's going to get up when the shade hits that side of the hill and feeding, get up and feed for the evening, and he might feed your direction or feed just over a little hillside where you can just slip in right behind him, like a lot of my success has been just that in itself is just cutting getting on the third leg of the stock, I guess, getting over that barrier to where like once this uh, animal screws up or puts himself in a better situation, I can capitalize right now.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so good. Getting yourself in the game. And I feel like the more I talk to really good hunters, it's like when you're new and you're just figuring things out, it's almost like it seems all like there's so much that it seems almost like mysterious or like clouded, but like it really is just like simple and logical. Um, like that's the best way to approach it, just simply and logically. Like you're saying, like it seems so it's not easy, but it seems so simple. Like okay, get closer, find the animals and get closer to them.
It
It's
is so
like
simple. That's
yeah,
what I get questions all the time. They're like, I get a lot of guys just like, how do you do it? And it's like, you think about it and it's like, I don't, what do you mean? Like, I think you put all that pressure. It's as simple as, get the wind right. Don't get seen and be quiet. Like that. It's really that simple.
yeah.
So
Or like people like freak out so much. Like, how do you scout? How do you, when you get to a new area, it's you get high and you get your glass out and you look for animals. Then when you find animals, you get closer to them. Like I'm talking to myself here because I have myself so many times overcomplicated things and just felt like, but it really is. It's not easy, but it's simple. You find
yeah.
the animals and then get close to them.
Well, it's like that, all these crazy e-scouting courses and stuff like that. It's great. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I totally believe in that. But I haven't had the time to go through a lot of that stuff, like all the different elevations and the different, I can't even remember all the stuff that they talk about and that kind of thing. But like, it's just so simple in my mind. I just get on Google Earth and I look at things and I get down on different elevations. Oh, I can see this, I can see that. And then when I get there, it's just a matter of putting in your time and using your glass and moving and just making decisions as they come. I try not to overcomplicate things. And that's what's worked for me is just persistence and, being confident and knowing that the things I'm doing are, eventually going to lead to success, so I don't get down. I don't, I just try to keep a positive attitude and just enjoy it, enjoy the soak up, the country and the scenery and just enjoy it for what it is. And seems like success just kind of falls right into play. So,
Absolutely, yeah. It's when you're like trying to force things and stress and freak out and overcomplicate, it never seems to happen. It's like when you kind of let it go and, like you said, just kind of enjoy the experience and live in the moment. That's for me when things usually happen too.
yep, I agree.
Um, so do you do any? I mean, you haven't said this explicitly, but I'm assuming you rely a fairly good deal on your fitness to get you into areas that are away from other folks and stuff like that. That's kind of what you have to do these days. But and people, another area people overcomplicate things. But I went on a elk hunt this year in Montana, and we were camped in a very crowded campsite. And my glassing spot was about a mile and a half from the camp and up a what I would call from Virginia standards a mountain. You guys would probably call it a hill, but it was enough to where we had the whole spot to ourselves, even though we were just walking straight from this crowded. So I mean, if you're willing to put in just like a little bit of work and like hike in the dark a little bit and like climb a hill or mountain or whatever, it's not that hard to get away from folks. This is a general tag in Montana rifle season. But anyway, all I'm trying to say is it does take some effort. Do you are you one of these dudes that just grew up in the mountains and you can just walk on mountains all day, or do you put some focus onto your physical training?
I mean, I don't really. I mean, uh, yeah, I go through phases of working out and things like that, but I just know the places that I need to be and I just get there. Like it's one of those things. It's like I don't know. I don't look at a big mountain and feel intimidated, It's just one of those things. It's just like I'm gonna start at the bottom, I gotta get to the top and I'm gonna get there. Like, you know.
It's such a mental thing. Like for me, I grew up in a beach town, so it was, pancake flat.
Mhm.
And yeah, it is such a mental thing. Like when you look at a mountain and you're like, wow, like I have to climb that. But like you said, if you just start slow and just go slow and just, it's really not that bad. It just takes time and some effort.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've hunted with a lot of people over the years and I definitely don't, I'm not like I don't look like I'm, you know, in mountain shape, but I don't know anybody that I couldn't keep up with or at the end of the day, they're like, holy cow, dude. Like, but a lot of it just comes with, I've spent a lot of time in the hills, growing up trapping and stuff like that, checking
Hmm.
traps on the top of the ridge and stuff like that. And just, yeah, get out, I guess more than most in the hills and just hike in the mountains, shed
Yeah.
hunting and things like that. Like, I think just that consistency of doing it, and, um, yeah, I don't know. It just doesn't really affect me, Like I start out my season where it's a little harder to get up the hill, and by the second weekend of the season, it starts feeling good. And by the end of the season, you're in really good shape. You just
Yeah.
know where you need the places you need to go and when you need to leave to get there. I'm not afraid to hike in the dark. You know, I'm definitely one of those guys that in a sense I think is lazy, to be honest. Like I would rather go the day before season and camp where I need to be than start at the bottom that morning and have to leave at, midnight to get to where I need to be. Like,
Yeah.
and then I just spent sleep on the mountain. So,
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely mindset has a huge part of it. And I think also just like you said, just growing up in it, being comfortable with it, being comfortable with, okay, I'm gonna just climb this and it's not gonna be that bad, or I'm gonna walk in the dark or whatever. Because yeah, I was talking to somebody about this other day. Like I know guys like in the industry that I would crush them in a CrossFit workout, but like they can hike with a pack all day long and they'll just get it done. You know what I mean? Like they're not afraid to just go
yep.
miles and ridge after ridge after ridge. Um, so that's something that I think it's hard to really train coming from like the Midwest or the East Coast or whatever. You can do your best, but you really need to like be intentional about developing that kind of mindset and like low intensity, just grind it out. Like, so when I start getting closer to the season, I will take like 1 or 2 days a week and drive 45 minutes into the mountains, an hour sometimes, and do like the hardest ruck I can find around here, which some of our biggest mountains around here are still not that big compared to what's out west, but you can still find some stuff. But yeah, just like, and nothing you do in the gym, doesn't matter how many squats and deadlifts you do, they're good and you should do them, but nothing exactly replicates
Yeah.
hiking with a pack.
Yeah, I think just, the stuff that would help the most is just throwing on a pack with some weight and just it's more endurance. Like
Mm-hmm.
hike way farther than you ever would comfortably, like pushing those limits of, when you're like, oh, I should turn around now. Like it's that endurance of pushing yourself throughout a hunt when things get tired. I've been in situations where it's just ridiculous distance from the pickup, but that's where I need to get. So that's what I do. And I just you don't give yourself a barrier, and I
Yeah,
think people are a lot more capable than they think,
for sure.
and it really is all mental. Like if just one step at a time, you'll get there. So be
Yeah,
positive and you know what I mean?
yeah, absolutely, man. And that's where I think. Are you a big time solo hunter, or do you hunt with other guys? Because for me, I mean, like it's really I'm usually solo, but with a camera guy. So it's really like important for me to make sure I have like the right camera guy that's gonna help push me. Because like I said, like I'll look at something and be like, wow, like I can't do that. And then sometimes I need someone to be like, yeah, you can. We're doing it. Let's go. You know what I mean? So do you have like somebody you hunt with, or you just kind of have that baked in already and you hunt solo?
I'm mainly a solo hunter, and a lot of it is just because, here in my home state, like opportunities are few and far between. So I've got, a couple good hunting buddies that are,
Yeah,
just as hardcore as I am. And, they're wanting to go find their own successes too. So I find myself, more often than not hunting by myself, which I honestly enjoy it. Like there's a time and a place, like when I went to Alaska this year, it was great to have a couple buddies on a hunt like that. I don't know that I would go on a hunt like that by myself, a new area and obviously getting dropped off in a plane, miles from anywhere like that would be pretty uncomfortable, I think, by myself,
yeah,
but anywhere that I can drive to here in the States that I can, you're a few hours from your pickup, like I'm super comfortable doing it and I really enjoy hunting solo. I'm a lot better hunter. Like
yeah,
when I hunt with somebody, I'm often distracted, like I'm just having a good time, chatting back and forth about life and things. And, it seems like hunting isn't like priority, but when I hunt by myself, I'm there for one reason and it's to kill. And it's just, I'm a lot better and a lot more efficient hunter by myself for sure. So,
yeah. And you learn a lot too because you're not. I feel like when you're with somebody, you're constantly like second guessing your decisions or bouncing ideas off of them and kind of coming to a consensus.
yeah,
Whereas when you're making decisions all on your own, you really see, okay, did that work or did it not? You know?
yeah. And that's why often I find myself hunting by myself because, like me and my buddy Rick, like we probably hunt together the most, and he's just lives to hunt just like me, and uh, a lot of times we'll go on hunts, and his ideas are a little different than mine, so
Yeah.
a lot of times I just I'll hunt by myself, or he'll hunt by his self, and we'll meet up and camp together at night and stuff like that, a lot of times. So,
Hmm.
but
Yeah. Um, so last thing I wanted to ask you about was, so I know you've been in Idaho for a long time, and I'm sure you saw the recent thing with Colorado releasing the wolves and stuff like that. And I've seen like all these different graphs of like ungulate populations in Idaho and the decline and stuff. Have you seen, have you experienced that, like heavy decline in elk and deer numbers in your home state?
before we can hunt them, yes, now that we're able to hunt them and we can somewhat keep them in check, they just haven't come back, but they're doing better.
Well, I mean, like, have you seen like a drastic decline in deer and elk numbers from like, when you were younger to now?
Not in the areas that I hunt, particularly where I live, but I know like northern Idaho where it's thicker and things like that, they really have. I would say their behaviors have changed a lot, when the wolves were really heavy before we could hunt them, like especially those last 2 years before, we were able to hunt them. But now that we're able to hunt them, it seems like we can keep them in check a little more. And especially now that they're allowing trapping and the trappers just do a pretty good job of, at least putting a dent in them a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's not a good thing. Like if you can't hunt the wolves, they're going to do a lot of damage in Colorado. Like the things are going to decline really quickly.
How
So,
many years do you think it's going to take before we start seeing actual heavy population declines from that in Colorado?
man, I mean, it's going to be pretty quick, I would think. I would say,
Two, three
within 10
years?
years, it's going to be probably 10 years, it's going to be absolutely insane. So
Wow. Okay.
that would just be my thought anyway.
Right.
Not a biologist or anything like that,
Sure.
but
And you do a fair amount of wolf hunting yourself, don't you?
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's one of those fun opportunities that, you always have after, your big game season's over to an
Yeah.
excuse to be in the mountains, so,
Are
but
you
yeah,
heading down to the desert this January?
I am. I'm going to leave here next week. So,
Okay. Cool, man.
yep, yep.
Are you now when you go down there? Do you specifically target coos or mule deer, or is it just whatever you find? I mean, they're in different areas, so you
Here,
kind of got to be looking for one or the other.
yeah, the area that I'm going, it's more geared towards Coos deer. And, honestly, like I hunt mule deer enough.
Mm-hmm.
Else, it's just like I go down there to hunt Coos deer,
Yeah.
for sure.
And there's a lot, at least when I was there, we were seeing a lot of really nice coos deer because everybody is so distracted trying to shoot the mule deer and not looking for the coos deer that we saw a lot of good bucks.
Yeah, I've seen some world-class deer for sure. And, I was actually able to kill one too, that just an absolute giant. So now that I've done that, like I really want to just go down there and just focus on killing, those mega giants. So that's
Yeah.
pretty fun.
How big was your giant one?
He's 114 inches. So
Nice.
yeah,
That's a
he's
good one. That's
big
a really
old
good one.
heavy, like yeah, non-typical, pretty cool. So
That's awesome, man. You don't have him sitting right there, do you?
I do, yeah.
Can I
I'll
see it?
go, yeah, pull them off the wall.
This is your opportunity to go to the YouTube version of this right now and check out this 114-inch coos deer he's about to show me.
Yeah, he's pretty cool buck.
Oh, wow. Yeah, he's super heavy. I
He's,
love the way, oh, look at those cheaters on that side. I love the way old coos deer look, the way they get just all gnarly and palmated like that.
yeah, I've seen some really good ones down there, but they're definitely hard to hunt.
Oh my gosh, so hard. That's a super cool buck. When did you shoot your sheep?
That was back in I think 2014. So
Okay.
yeah, Idaho sheep, wilderness hunt, tough hunt. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, if you could, this is the last question, I promise. If you could, like, boil, like, from a high level, boil down couple keys to consistent success, because you're one of those guys who you're not super flashy, but you're consistently killing really good animals. If you could boil it down to a couple like high level kind of things, what do you think it comes down to?
I would say initially just, progressively getting time in the field and paying attention to your failures, the things that didn't go right. A lot of the things that, the opportunities I've had on certain animals where I've failed and I'm able to, pick up on that, like, okay, that didn't work. I drew when that buck was looking in my direction. I'm not going to do
Mm-hmm.
that. Like, it's just those little silly things like that, like that they do make a difference. And, once I make a mistake like that, that's notable, like I try not to do it again. And I really try to uh, pay attention to that. And, I would say, just like I was saying before, like whatever strengths you have, use those to build confidence. Like put your time in your effort in building the things that you're really good at so you can feel confident. Like going into the field confident, I think is really big. Like that really helps
Mm-hmm.
me. Like I know if, I can find a buck, I can kill a buck, and I'm very confident that, all I got to do is put the time in to find it, and then, put in the work to make it happen. So, um, man, it's hard to, whittle it down, but
Yeah,
I,
that's all right.
and having a positive attitude and just getting out there and not getting down on yourself and not putting pressure on yourself and just have fun with it. I think in time it'll help. I remember um, growing up, like I just had a strong desire to succeed and be successful. And I always kind of like looked at other people when I was young, like, man, how do they do it? How do they even find a big buck like that? And it was just, I always wanted to succeed, and it really came down to me finally forgetting about all that and worrying about everybody what everybody else was doing. It finally came down to me going, okay, I'm going elk hunting in this drainage. I'm going here for this reason because I know there's elk there. And I just put in the work that it takes to be successful there. And once I did that and it like, I killed something and I just built on that. Like just having confidence in your decisions, like not second guessing yourself when you pick a spot on a map and go there. Like if you believe that there's an animal there and you put in the work, whether there is or not, just, that's the best way to learn,
Yeah,
put in the work yourself and note the things that work and don't work. And I think over time, you're just going to become a better hunter, like I didn't start out, just shooting everything. I had a lot of failure growing up,
for sure.
and it came to a point where, I started to find some success and I paid attention to the things that worked. And, now it just seems like even as I get, I'm in less shape than I used to be and things like that, but I seem to be more efficient. And I think a lot of it is just confidence and, the mental game of it, knowing that if I get that opportunity, I'm going to make the shot and things like that. Just believing in yourself and putting in the time to learn. So, and
Yeah,
everybody's going to fail. Just build upon it, and I think over time you're just going to become a better hunter. That's really what it boils down to. So,
yeah, for sure, man. And I think that confidence thing is something that you can't really just get it overnight. You kind of have to develop it, I think. But it is, and you can do things to help yourself along. But that's something I noticed about like some of the really good hunters that I've observed, especially like in Western hunters. Um, just like almost like the bravado to be like, oh yeah, I saw this buck like 3 miles away, but yeah, we're gonna go over there, we're gonna find him, and we're gonna kill him. You know what I mean? Like it just that confidence. Whereas there are times when I'd been like, oh, like cool, that deer's over there, but like I'm never gonna be able to get in there and see it. Like, but you just gotta have that like I'm gonna try it, and we're gonna have the confidence and just send it. You know what I mean?
yep, yep,
And just getting in the game, like you said. So, well, cool, man. Well, thanks for your time. I've enjoyed chatting with you. Where can folks find you if they want to see some of your stuff?
yeah. I think the best place is probably just Instagram, just my name Travis_NOWOTNY. Yeah, probably it.
All
So
right, cool, man.
yeah, I'm not
Do you
too
have a page
crazy.
for goat knives or
Yeah, just goatknives.com. So yeah,
okay?
go check them out. So sell them in sportsmen's and shields and stuff like that too. So
Oh, sweet. Okay. Well, cool, man. Well, thanks again. Enjoyed
yeah,
talking to you.
yeah.